Your experience in Shodhyatra up until now in a word or a term?
I would say it's been phenomenal, no doubt.
Educational.
Life learning.
And transformational.
Intensive.
Learning by doing.
Experiential.
Exploratory.
Life changing.
Oh, I don't know. Not right now. Not right now.
भैया आपका चाय
ठीक है, थैंक यू भैया. Oh, you want a detailed explanation of how it happened? Hello, my name is Aditya Pandey and I'm a student of Bennett University. And today I am here to tell you about something very important. But before that, I need to give you some necessary exposition. This is Shrishti, Society for Research and Innovation in Sustainable Technologies, dead set on helping grassroots communities realize their potential and then triggering their development into becoming a fuller self. They recognize entrepreneurs, artists, teachers, anybody who is already or maybe capable of making a difference in their local communities, but also ideas and anything that can help those local communities and their villages turn into their potential self. They also try to generate situations where the locals can give birth to their own ideas. Next up is Gyan, Gujarat's grassroots innovation augmentation network. In coherence with Shrishti, Gyan focuses on building a rewarding system of connectivity between innovators, entrepreneurs and artists who exist at the grassroots community level, who are knowledge rich but economically poor. They follow the Golden Triangle as their motto, setting up incubations for the same innovators, artists and creators helps them live up to that motto. And in that order, their name, Gyan, knowledge, rewards creativity. Now this is Honeybee Network, concerned with the ethics and the existing methods of data collection from grassroots level communities and the implication of that same data to them, the rich in biodiversity but stricken with poverty. We owe the respect, the consent and everything gained from the knowledge to the holders of the knowledge. That is what lies at the core of the Honeybee Network. If they allow to do so, the extraction of this nectar-like knowledge and then spreading it across all other communities and their knowledge, while keeping it harmless, like a honeybee does. So I'm guessing by now you can tell all these three bodies have sort of the same goal, the upliftment of creative grassroots individuals and turning them into what they can and they should. Well, that sort of makes sense because all these three bodies are the brainchild of one man. This one man whose life's work has impact on I don't know how many lives, maybe even mine. Dr. Anil K. Gupta, or as everybody else called him, the Professor. But we'll talk about him later. So, Shrishti, Gyan and Honeybee Network together want to help communities all over India. So how do we reach them? Should we make them come to us? If we make them come to us, that sort of defeats the whole point of what we're all about, right? Maybe that's why Gyan says we need to provide support to local innovators at their doorstep instead of making them travel. So, they can't travel, hence we travel to them. Make that journey to the places all over India and explore the place in search of innovators. So through that comes the Shodh Yatra. It started in 1998 with the purpose of supporting organic farming and spreading ideas across other farmers. So they set up a journey connecting scientists and organic farmers. A visitor offered that the yatra started from his place, and so the first Shodh Yatra began. I say first because they've been doing it ever since, every 6 months. And they've traveled to a lot of places, some places maybe even twice. And maybe at the start or somewhere along the way, it evolved into two more factors. First one being that they'll travel to the hotter places in the hotter months and colder places in the cold months. The second one being is that they'll start the yatra somewhere and then walk to every village. And in those villages, they hope to find the kind of people that give their journey a purpose, to give their vision a point, which they do. So now you're up to speed. Why am I telling you all this? Somewhere in late December, I was holding my phone in my hands, which were trying not to freeze. And I got a certain message from a certain faculty member telling me to call him. That call led to a string of events that first of all got to let me know about this whole ordeal I just told you about. And second, it meant one more thing. I was going on a Shodh Yatra. See, I'll be honest, I didn't know what I had signed up for. I mean, I knew what was going to happen on the paper. It was going to be a 6-day journey through the Kifiri district of Nagaland. And we were going to visit 10 villages. And it had a purpose, the same as every Shodh Yatra, giving voice, velocity and verification to the ideas of grassroots level communities. Also, I had to make something out of it. So, I got my gear, I got some warm gloves, a warm cap, a jacket and a sleeping bag. Did I forget to mention this was going to be grueling? Well, now you know. And also just one final thing. This was the 50th one. The 50th Shodh Yatra. And on Jan 16th, it starts.
So it's a wonderful experience. It's a splendid process of learning actually. बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है इतने सारे लोगों से मिल रहा हूँ and definitely it's gonna help me in the days ahead.
The plan was to reach Dimapur through the train and there meet all the other people on the trip, the other Shodh Yatris, if you may say so yourself. And from there, it was a bus ride to the first village. And we did exactly that.
And in that process, I met all the Shodh Yatris. And they were all a certain way, you know. They felt aware of what was around them and the things that they cared about. And what was happening to and around the things that they cared about. They were unique individuals, you know. And their career paths and their success in it definitely showed that. They were entrepreneurs, founders, NGO workers, social workers, teachers, learners, educators, whatnot. All there to put their knowledge and learnings into the cause of this earth. And then there was also, you know, me.
I don't know how I didn't notice. Maybe it was the dust from the rocky terrains or the darkness of the night flowing in through the occasional open window. But slowly escaping my way through the hills while taking in the unique individuals around me, the experiences they've had, their accents, the cold air, the dust. I didn't know when I got off the bus that I was standing amongst something that I had no taste of. No prior experience of anything like this in life. I was standing in.
अच्छा, तो आपका फेवरेट विलेज?
मैं बताता हूँ, ऐना टोंगरे था मेरा।
जो पहला ही विलेज था, आना टोंगरे, ऐना टोंगरे।
यात्रा से रिलेटेड अपने बारे में भी बताओ आप कैसे?
शोध यात्रा में मेरे आने का एक ही मकसद था कि
मेरे दोस्त थे अहमदाबाद में, तो हमारा एक ऐसा शो यात्रा में जैसा ग्रुप है, जैसा हमारे वहाँ पे ग्रुप है जो छुट्टी पे हम काफ़ी सारे एक्टिविटी करते हैं। जैसे हॉस्पिटल है, वहाँ पे कैंसर वार्ड है, वहाँ पे संडे 4 से 7 बजे तक हम जाते हैं और सब बच्चों को जो कैंसर रहता है वहाँ पे हम सबको प्लानिंग, मनोरंजन वो सब हम कराते हैं। काफ़ी सारी एक्टिविटी चलती है। तो मेरे दोस्त ने बोला कि तेरे को जो ऐसी कोई एक्टिविटी चाहिए या ऐसा कुछ तेरे को सिखाना या सीखना है, तो एक संस्था है सृष्टि करके, तो तू उसमें इन्वाइट हो जा। तो तेरे को क्या तो बहुत सारा सीखने का मिलेगा और तू दूसरे को सिखा भी सकता है। तो मैंने सृष्टि से ऑनलाइन थोड़ा सर्च किया, उसकी वेबसाइट पोर्टल देखी, वहाँ से मैंने थोड़ा नंबर भी लिए और कांटेक्ट मैंने किया। तो पहले यूपी में थी, अगले साल पे नेक्स्ट गए साल पे, तो तब मेरे को छुट्टी नहीं मिल रही है कंपनी में से, तो अभी भी मेरे को छुट्टी तो नहीं मिली वहाँ वैसे भी। तो मैं छोड़ के अभी मैं आया हूँ। तो अभी अंकित भाई से मेरे को बात हुई थी कि मेरे को ये नागालैंड की जो 50वीं शो यात्रा है उसमें मेरे को आने का है। आने का मकसद मेरा एक ही था कि मैं जो अभी तक सीखा हूँ वो मैं किसी को सिखा सकूँ और मेरे में जो कमी है वो मैं निकाल सकूँ। तो बस वही मैं गोल से यहाँ पे आया था।
अच्छा, तो आपका फेवरेट विलेज?
एना
Ah, yes. Anna Tongre. See, maybe it was the dark from the night that helped me not notice. But there's one thing that hit me like a double-decker bus. The morning after I slept in a sleeping bag for the first time. The beauty. But we'll talk about that later. Anna Tongre was the first village we visited. And for me, it was the first taste of what I was around. Or maybe what was to come.
एना टोंगरे।
क्यों?
क्योंकि वहाँ बहुत सारे स्टॉल थे, क्योंकि इतने सारे स्टॉल मैंने और कोई गांव में नहीं देखे थे। हमने 12 गांव विजिट किया, 12 गांव हमने विजिट किए थे। तो एना टोंगरे फर्स्ट ऐसा गांव था जहाँ पे 24 स्टॉल थे। तो हर स्टॉल पे मैं विजिट किया और हर एक स्टॉल पे अलग अलग चीज मैंने ऐसी देखी कि जहाँ पे मैंने अभी तक नहीं देखी थी।
अच्छा. See, there was a trail from the place that we were sleeping at to the commemorative ground of the village. It took me around 20 minutes to reach there. The thing is, the trail at the most was 3 minutes of dedicated walking. That too not fast. Then why did it take me so much more time? From the point that I stepped out of the place we were sleeping at to the point I reached the ground, I had taken around 20 videos. My eyes, they were celibate to the kind of things that were around me. But when I did reach the ground, man,
I don't know how you make that jump into not experiencing anything like what was coming, and then just the sensory overload of it all.
Let's start with the fact that the ground, it had audience. They cared for us to be there, and from what was about to come, they had definitely been planning this for a while. See, initially I didn't know what to make of the dances. So I did what any other person of my lowly profession does. I started to record it.
Almost like a defense mechanism.
The dances, at their core, were celebrations and games, either in the village or after war.
And I'd get it if I wasn't scrambling to find a detail that would help me. Did you notice it?
It's okay if you didn't. So when the dances got over, we were addressed by the village head. In every village, only these three people could be the village heads: the village security head, the mayor, or the pastor. After the address ended, everybody just sort of got up. I looked around trying to guess what was going to happen next, but everybody seemed to go in their own direction. So I tightly clutched my camera and I walked as well. See, if the dances didn't make it apparent to you, maybe the 12 different stalls all showcasing different things will make it apparent that they had been planning this for a while. I have to be clear about this. 12 stalls of all different things. Foxtail millet, locally made scarves, the most weirdly shaped yet the tastiest bananas I've ever eaten in my life. Snacks made with and fermented with ingredients that I've never even heard of. While conversating with them, I tried to remember all those things, only to go on to the next stall and face new dishes with all new ingredients I've never even heard of. 12 stalls of this. And in the end, I remembered none of it.
And that felt bad. I wanted to remember everything, and in the end, I remembered none of it. How do I take in so much? 12 stalls, all with different stuff. And they prepared it all for us. Of course, we were there to help them, right?
So, I accompanied other Shodhyatris, helping them, or maybe just accompanying them, to them imparting practices, knowledge, or maybe just, making small working paper windmills on a stick. And that is probably the only thing that made the kids listen, other than just joyously laugh at everything, is the fact that Dhruv Sachdev, a Shodhyatri, made a functioning working thing in front of them and then left them the tools to make something like that, or maybe something of their imagination in front of them. Isn't that sort of the point of this whole thing? Giving them a part of yourself, to make them realize their potential and this place's potential. While I was unimaginably in awe of what was happening in front of me, I got two subsequent questions in my head. How do people do what just happened in front of my eyes?
They were entrepreneurs, founders, NGO workers, social workers, teachers, learners, educators, whatnot. All there to put their knowledge and learnings into the cause of this art.
And
where do I fit into all of this? And then there was also, me.
Maybe because Anna Tongre surprised me, or the organizers as well, it took up a lot more time than we thought it would. And because we were learning late, we had to be transported to the next village, Felingre. Felingre was
but we'll talk about that later. Cold around here. I need something warm to drink. Could you please give me 2 minutes? Thank you. Just 2 minutes, right?
Let's talk about the place that welcomed me in the point in the yatra where I just figured what I had gotten myself into.
Alright, तो आपका favorite village कौन सा था? बताओ.
Till now, my favorite and most remembered village was Insecure.
when you tell me to remember Nagaland, I'll close my eyes and I'll remember Yangshiku.
They were perhaps my sore feet that made the dawn look like I had never seen one in my life.
Couldn't take it in, so
I walked towards the tastes and systems of a world I had never seen before. Yingshiku's community hall was next to a kitchen, and in that kitchen was a fire. Now, given that I had walked so far away from where my sleeping bag was, the fire did not seem like a bad idea to a gloveless me. The ladies in the kitchen were nice enough to not consider me a nuisance in their morning duties and let me sit there. In fact, they also gave me a drink. Now, I don't know why I asked them this, but I did ask them a potentially rude question of the nature of the drink. And after a little bit of language barrier banter, it was communicated very thoroughly that it was indeed chai. One minor problem though. When I took a sip, it was not indeed chai.
that was confusing. Then what was it? And more than that, why did they tell me it was chai?
But I didn't ask them that. I just sat there and drank the chai while smiling and laughing every time the ladies laughed.
But only until lunch arrived. Just to see something else that forced me to go around asking why it was the way that it was.
See, Yingshiku's residents' preferred way of water storage and dispensing was in the form of a long, big bamboo laying horizontally on stands with little holes in them for dispensing.
I mean, why that? Why not literally anything else that would hold a larger amount of water?
बट दूध नहीं है और दूध भी नहीं है.
अच्छा, ठीक है. I mean, you think that, right? So I guess you'll be able to justify when I went around even after the lunch was over to find why that was the way that it was.
Obviously, other than the language barrier communications, the collective response of the whole village towards that thing was just a collective, yeah, or that's just the way it is. And to that, my reaction of running around, trying to find the point of it, while the other Shodhyatris talked to the residents of Yangshiku.
Treating it like a legitimate point worth of concerned research, all until the pastor came to give the speech.
My village is leaving behind. So, in this regard, I would like to request Sir Dr. Anil Gupta. We would like to share our small burden. Sir, if you could kindly understand our problems, we would like to share a small burden which we could not carry it by ourselves. After you arrive in this village, you have been encountering lots of problems. I know, I have seen that, but even me, I'm helpless. Even the village are helpless. We could not help you. That is, we don't have even a small homestay, community homestay. If we have that one, we could have let you sleep peacefully out here. But our village is in such a condition that we could not build even a small hut. So I request Sir Dr. Anil Gupta accept this short application. This is not an application, but it is a prayer of each and every individual living in this village. So I hope that you would accept this and reach our voice to the respective government. So I would like to hand over this mochi to our professor, Sir Dr. Anil Kumar.
And then suddenly, I wasn't so keen to go on asking anymore.
The bamboo was to keep the water cool, and the little holes were so that less water gets wasted.
Do you notice it?
It's okay if you didn't. See, Yingshiku, it wasn't the richest village we visited in the Yatra, neither was it the biggest. But I don't know how it seeped into my memory.
Maybe it was the pastor asking for the help to build a town hall to host us than other things. Or maybe it was the bamboo water dispensing system. Or the chai.
Or maybe it was the lady singing, "Even if you go away from our village, do not forget us."
I didn't. Because now, if you tell me to remember Nagaland, I'll close my eyes and I'll remember Yingshiku.
ये क्या किया भाई तूने? इतना ही मन है चाय पीने का तो बाहर क्यों नहीं चला जाता एंड टपरी से चाय ले ले.
After literally seeing 100-year-old man telling us how to live longer, we again left
With all my questions unanswered.
for the trek.
हाँ तो कोई चांस नहीं है. हाँ वो चॉइस नहीं है. वो बहुत ज़्यादा चीनी डालते हैं, हाइजीनिक भी नहीं होता. नहीं कैसा दूध यूज़ करते हैं. घर के अंदर है तो बताओ. वो कहते ग्रीन डब्बे में हो सकता है. इसके अलावा अच्छा कहाँ हो गए ग्रीन डब्बे? Okay.
I mean, obviously the trekking was hard. I don't think that needs to be said, right? I mean, we had to keep up with others while keeping up with our egos. You know, we had to do small talk, just keep our minds afloat. Go downhill, uphill, then downhill again. What do you do when you finally stop just to catch a breath, only to be told there are 5 more kilometers to go? See, the sceneries helped, but not for the reason you think. The sceneries, they made everybody else on the trek stop and look around once in a while. This helped me catch up, or just helped me lay down and take rest for a while.
Because to me, it looked like a painting almost. You know? Like it wasn't real or something. I just felt that I was unable to take in the beauty. You know, pay attention almost. That was frustrating because God, the beauty. But we'll talk about that later. Because right now, I've got to talk about my favorite village. Kisadong was the only village in the whole yatra where I probably did something right.
It came after a particularly hard uphill trek. And in that uphill trek, 3 things had happened to me. The first being, I had already gotten late. The second being, my legs had completely given out. And the third was that my camera battery was precisely around 15%.
So when I actually reached the village, the event had started. And while I sat in the chair, I could sense it in me. The kids up on the church side, the vegetables on display, the costumes, the people, the speeches just nagging at me to capture it, you know, to understand it, to pay attention, inquire, or talk to the people, or just do something. But in that little red plastic chair, I sat humbled and defeated by the hills, forced to stay still and just nod off. Come back to life. Look at the little girls next to you looking at the camera in your lap, and decide to do what you can. Make the best use of those 15% left in your camera. And I did that. They were a bit hesitant. That's okay. I was too. But then I did, well, what I could. I held the camera, I pointed at something and told them to press the button. One of the little girls in Kisatong, Nagaland had potentially clicked a photograph for the first time through a camera. My camera. I taught her to focus the camera. She pointed it to something. She focused and she clicked. I taught her how to zoom in. She learned how to zoom in. She zoomed in and clicked the photograph.
And then I gave myself over to the moment. Like a trust handoff. I handed her the camera that had all of my work in it up until now. I don't know if I thought of it. I don't remember it. But I do remember her being nervous with the camera, but then place her hands around it like a professional, choosing what she'll click a photo of, putting up the camera, pointing it at another very little girl that she was just carrying, maybe her little sister, zooming in a bit, focusing, and adapting in real time to the camera. And it clicked for me. The camera inside my mind. A photo for forever.
Then I came back and I taught another child. And while walking away from the village, I looked back.
And I thought something I've been feeling for a while. All this while that I've been worrying about not appreciating how beautiful this place is. Walking the trails that I've walked, what do the people who live here feel about this place? Do they realize how beautiful this place is? Or are they just used to it? Do they freak out every time they see insanely beautiful sceneries? But they can't do that every day. Or do they just shrug and move about their day? Why am I not able to take it in?
Aditya, look back.
Somehow, finally, I'd been able to give something back. I had won. How? By losing. I gave up. And Kisetong handled that. Kisetong was beautiful. Nagaland was beautiful. The best word for the beauty in Nagaland would be inescapable. It would just follow you around, creep up on you on your most vulnerable moments and just stab you in the back when you least expect it. It was the bane of my existence while I was there. And simultaneously, it was also the point of my existence there. I mean, a Shodhyatri couldn't just wake up and go to the... Just see for yourself. What can I do? I had to eventually keep going, right? Don't worry, it's not like the torture ended. I just got used to the misery it ensued. And you know what? That's okay. Because it was all coming to an end.
मेरा नाम मिहिर है और मैं अहमदाबाद गुजरात से आया हूँ। शोध यात्रा का पता मुझे 26 दिसंबर को सात्विक के दौरान अहमदाबाद में पता चला। शोध यात्रा में इनोवेशंस के बारे में लोगों से मिलना होता है, विलेजर्स, और उनकी क्या क्या लाइफ लिविंग वगैरह में शोध है नहीं जो उनकी लाइफ इजी कर पाए, उनके खेतों में, उनकी रोज बरोज की ज़िंदगी में, वो बारे में था। ऐसा कुछ थोड़ा सा उन्होंने उस वक्त बताया। पर दो वजह से मैं तुरंत जुड़ गया। एक तो वो गांव में था, मुझे गांव बहुत पसंद है, और दूसरा वो नागालैंड में था, मुझे नॉर्थ ईस्ट बहुत पसंद है पर मैं कभी गया नहीं था। दूसरा नॉर्थ ईस्ट पूरा कुदरत से भरा पड़ा है और मैं मानता हूँ कि ईश्वर को देखना हो और देख सके ऐसा स्वरूप ईश्वर का कुदरत और बच्चे हैं। तो नागालैंड में मुझे बच्चे और कुदरत दोनों मिल जाए, उस वजह से मैंने तुरंत जोड़ दिया मेरे आप को।
ठीक है, तो मेरे भाई आपका फेवरेट विलेज या फिर फेवरेट मोमेंट, कोई ऐसी मेमोरी पूरे उसमें कौन सी थी?
बारिंग 1 और 2, मतलब 2-1 विलेज को छोड़ के मुझे सभी विलेज बहुत ही अच्छे लगे। वो इसलिए कि
इतना समय नहीं मिल रहा था कि पूरे गांव को घूम सके और देख सके, इसलिए ये कहना भी उचित नहीं होगा कि ये विलेज अच्छा था या वो, पर जो पहला ही विलेज था आना टोंगरे, वो थोड़ा सा बड़ा और लाइवली और हैपनिंग था, पर जो आखिर वाला विलेज था वो मुझे बहुत पसंद आया। तेथो वो विलेज इसलिए बहुत पसंद आया कि मैं थोड़ा जल्दी वहां पहुंचा था और मैं पूरा वहां घूम पाया।
We reached the last village, might I add, in an unconventional way. Because if we were to travel there on foot the last 31 kilometers, we'd reach at night, and we can't do that. So we reached there. We were still a little bit late, but they made us have food first. And then I remember vividly the last time I entered the ground to see the procession. I have this memory. I couldn't find it in photos, so I wouldn't confirm it. I have this memory of the kids playing football there. You know, I gave up sports a long time ago due to, according to me, a vast array of reasons, but actually just a couple of them. It was heartbreaking. Now, I'm not going to be cheesy. I didn't go on to join them. But maybe after a long time, I really wanted to. Maybe I really wanted to. You know, people say these places, they are pure. You know, the obvious thought, it'd be that it was clean and untouched by literally everything else in the world. The kids, them playing football made me want to play football with them. Because that moment hadn't been touched by anything of the sort that had made me not want to play football ever again. I'm guessing it was pure. I looked around as the lights slowly set. The residents were still there and they wanted to show themselves to us. After clapping the hardest at every self-help group member there who got a certificate, it was time. It was late night and it was time for the meeting. And every member was sitting in the community hall. We were told that we were collected there to be taught something. That something was half of the things that I told you about in the start. And the rest of the things, well, we'll talk about that later. After that, when that was over, it was feedback time. It was time to tell what I had learned and what they should do to make the Shodhyatra better. I don't think I started to scramble my brain until I heard everybody else's answer, and mine felt quite inadequate compared to theirs. The natural instinct was to go funny. So I did. And I sat on that answer with panic. Until before the mic could reach to me, it was time for dinner. I didn't get the chance to speak. The dish on the menu tonight was regret. Why? Well, if you hadn't guessed by now, I didn't want this trip to go to waste. I desperately, so desperately wanted it to mean something. I wanted to do something, right? And while that happening, I wanted to be good at it. So that not happening and at the same time not being good at it was all the more frustrating. So I trudged back to the meeting hall, only to find out the feedback actually still had to go on. And guess who was next in line? Me. So I ran back to my defense of jokes, which got an occasional snicker here or two, and I was finished. I had to hand it off to the next person.
But I couldn't.
I had to say something, right? What? I don't know. So I said what I felt.
तो मैं एज अ फीडबैक तो आई डोंट थिंक मैंने अभी इस शोध यात्रा का पूरा सार लिया है, जैसे मैंने कोशिश करी बहुत, बट आई थिंक मेरे को अभी बहुत चीज़ें थी जो आई कुड हैव डन बेटर टू एक्सपीरियंस दिस फुल्ली. तो मैं अब अंटिल वहाँ पे ना पहुँचूँ मैं कुछ नहीं बोल सकता.
And then I laid myself out for them. In an appreciative tone, I told everybody.
तो मैं अभी right now I think I am not in a position to, but I am blessed to be surrounded by people who are doing so many good things in life that even walking near them in a road, if you hear them for like 2-3 minutes ऐसे randomly, ऐसा knowledge पता चलता है that you feel there are so many possibilities in the future. And what I know of life is not even a little. It's just, that's all.
The professor had never looked up from his laptop all this time. After the feedback session was over, it was time to sleep. Except I couldn't, because I hadn't recorded any interviews there. So there was panic, anger, fear on the last night of the journey. That was up until the tiredness, instead of contributing to it all, caught up to me. The morning was same as others, except two things. This one had come much earlier than others. And this was the final time we'd load up our luggage onto the bus this time. And after being looked upon judgely by elder Shodhyatris, I did exactly that. And in the midst of that, I tried to record some interviews, but surprise, no one is keen to talk about themselves at 5 in the morning after only 4 hours of good sleep in their sleeping bag.
The routine of discomfort was about to ensue again.
Until I felt a presence lacking. It was the professor. Had you noticed until now? It's okay. The professor wouldn't be traveling with us. The brief is the last we saw of the professor.
प्रोफेसर के बारे में कुछ कहना चाहेंगे आप?
प्रोफेसर अनिल गुप्ता जी को बहुत सालों पहले एक बार थोड़ी सी मिनट के लिए मुलाकात हुई थी मेरी.
प्रोफेसर सर के बारे में जितना मैंने सुना था वो उससे कहीं ज़्यादा अच्छे और ज्ञानी और हम्बल हैं.
1995 से 2000 के बीच में यहाँ जब उनको ये 5-6 दिन उनके साथ रहना मिला.
So I would use this Sanskrit word which is Tatvanishta. Tatvanishta is the one who would be very firm at the values or the rules which are set.
तब एक बात जो चुभ रही थी वो यही थी कि उस वक्त से रह लिया होता तो जिंदगी बदल जाती मेरी.
The professor, he spoke in threes, voice, visibility, and velocity. The teacher within, the teacher around, the teacher in nature, and sometimes he'd add a fourth, the teacher among common people. I didn't get an interview with him. I didn't even need it, honestly. See, Dr. Anil K. Gupta, he's a famous man, and all the materialistic knowledge you need of him, you'll find it online. Anything I heard from him, I didn't record. The professor did tell us one thing though. He told us that throughout all the villages, that one thing, that we'd all leave with something from this place. And while I sat in the bus, Sankri said loudly that everything that we had been carrying all this while, things we didn't need, leave it all here and go back home. Do you remember the question that was on my mind all this while? How do the people who live here react to the beauty here? Do they freak out every time they see it, or are they just used to it by now? Well, the answer is neither. The answer is that they are at peace with it. They have to live around it, and they for sure can't ignore it or get used to it. So they exist along with it, the same way it exists along with them, in stillness. The hills and the people, they seep into one. Maybe that's how they're able to appreciate it the best. So what does it mean? The peace was never in the hills all this time? Tetuo, do you remember anything unique about it? What about every time I told you it's okay that you didn't notice the details? The bamboos, the professor, even the dances. Alright, can you hear it? Every time I said it's okay you didn't notice the details, Tetuo was the first time there were bird sounds. I said it for a reason. Hunting is banned in that area. I said it because, yeah, you'd noticed it, but had you heard it? It's okay. I hadn't noticed them either. I hadn't heard it either. Guess when I heard it? When I was back home. Kesatong and Tetuo, yes, they had taught me stillness, but I heard it all. I noticed it all when I was back home. Not in Nagaland, but back here. So what does it mean? Peace was never a place to begin with? Nagaland just broke me down enough to make me see that peace is and always, always has been a practice. Thank you, Bhaiya. Oh, you want a detailed explanation of how it happened? So, sir, I'm guessing in the end we found peace, right?
Peace is a practice, Aditya. Practice it.
And one final thing that I feel I should tell everybody. I actually didn't take the professor's interview because what I got from him could only be gained by traveling with him on a yatra. So go, follow Gyan, Shrishti and Honeybee Network. And you know what? Maybe go on the next show Yatra yourselves. You may find peace yourself.